Hi guys, Freddy here. Welcome back to another Retro RPG. And at the end of another week, and the end of another poll, we have an absolutely resounding win with some 48% of the vote for GURPS Space. So I'll cover that on the desktop in a wee second, and I'll be back as usual at the end of the video with some other poll related stuff and some other channel related stuff. But as a wee reminder, if you'd like to help the channel out, or you'd like to see these videos a week early, if you have a look, there's a link to our Patreon in the description down below. So if you could click on that, that'd be really helpful to us. But anyway, I hope to see you at the end of the video. So, this is GURPS Space, or at least GURPS Space 2nd edition. Now this book came out in 1990, the first edition came out in 1988. And it's an add-on for GURPS to allow you to make your games in space. So we've got space travel, we've got creating planets, different alien races, that kind of stuff. Now, it claims to be generic role-playing in the worlds of tomorrow, but really it's not. This is very much GURPS Traveller to a degree. It's really trying to cover a lot of Traveller ground, and it even mentions it in there that Traveller is an inspiration. They've got all their favourites include work of authors such as Robert A. Heinlein, H.P. Piper, Paul Anderson, Arthur C. Clarke, Andre Norton, Larry Niven, Robert Silverberg, Philip Jose Farmer, Isaac Asimov, Jack Vance, Robert Zelensky, and many more. But then it mentions Traveller. And it's so heavily based on Traveller. If, for example, you wanted to create Star Trek in this, the glimpses into Star Trek type technology and that kind of stuff are only tiny. There's a paragraph here or there, whereas there is so much based on Traveller. But let's have a look at the back cover anyway. The future is yours. At last, the star-spanning sourcebook for the Generic Universal RolePlaying System. In the 128 pages of GURPS Space, you'll find detailed, scientifically correct rules for creating star systems and planets, either randomly or to fit a specific campaign. 21 character types with new advantages, disadvantages, and skills for a future campaign. 3 variant human races, heavy worlders, light worlders, and spacers, and guidelines for creating other forms. 4 alien races, meet the savage near-human Gormelites, the graceful, aggressive Sparrials, the weird sex-changing Pachekki, and the powerful half-plant Treefolk. We've got science fiction gadgets, weapons, and medical technology. Starship construction rules from tech level 8, just around the corner, to tech level 15, plus science fantasy. Quick but detailed abstract ship combat rules, no ship counters, just role-playing for a quick determination of fleet damage, individual ship damage, and injury to characters. GURPS Space does not tie your game to a single background, rather it's designed for the creative GM who wants to develop his own universe. This book presents a wide variety of choices and background information to let you recreate your favourite science fiction background, or to build your own. Years in the making, GURPS Space is a survey of the whole space adventure genre as it relates to role-playing. If you're ready to create your own future, it's yours. And to a degree, it's true. For example, where I say there's nothing for Star Trek in here, there's a brief mention of warp drive. There's a couple of paragraphs on teleportation. If you want Star Wars stuff, there are brief mentions of hyperspace. There are lightsabers, for example. But everything is very generic in here. And, as I said, it sounds way more Traveller. But let's have a leaf through. So, Role-Playing the Worlds of Tomorrow, the credits page. The artwork in the book is nice, but when looking through, I really felt it was very 1970s. I'll point out some artwork as we come to it, but even there, straight away, that looks like very 70s artwork to me. The 80s and 90s really had a different look to them, whereas we're going back here. It reminds me a lot of the science fiction comics I read as a kid, so maybe even earlier, maybe 1950s, 1960s, because I read a lot of old comics when I was a kid. So we've got the introduction here about GURPS, about the authors, and then we're straight into creating a universe. So it suggests different types of campaigns, really. So, strange new worlds, are you going to be exploring new planets? Selling the moon, are you going to be merchants, a Han Solo type? Star soldiers, is this going to be Starship troopers? We've got other references here. Now, I'm going to end up jumping around a lot because the main bulk of the page and the sidebars are often in completely different topics. So we're going through here, and we've got other military campaigns. So specifically going into the Star Soldiers ones. Are you going to be space pirates stealing people's ships? Are you going to be rebels against the Empire? No idea who that might be ripping off. Agents of Terror. Now, we've got things here. Are you colonists? Your campaign could be colonists. You could be space police. Then we're going into, in your universe, is there only humans? Or just one race? Are there just a few? Or are there many races? And it's got different suggestions here. It's got writing history, what you might want to do, suggesting who developed the first faster-than-light drive, which were the first colonies, when was first contact done, are there any space wars, advances in technology, laying out the history of the future for your campaign. We've got different societies, so alliances, and we've got different types of government, military, the law and order within an alliance. And the sidebars, we've got languages, a precursor species. So much like many movies have, or many science fiction has, an older species, which set everything up, and everybody's finding their stargates or whatever. It's suggesting about that. As I said, the artwork looks old, 1960s, 1970s to me. Variant forms of alliances, got federations, and again going through the military, law and order, origins of them. It suggests variant forms of federation here, and whether humans might be insignificant. Whereas in Star Trek, for example, or even Star Wars, humans are the main species in the galaxy. Perhaps in your universe they're not. Perhaps humans got conquered when we were primitive, and they've got access to the technology through being enslaved throughout the galaxy. Corporate states, again going through the different types here, variant forms. The long night where civilizations are collapsing, it suggests. Empires and variant forms. Why people support rotten empires. So it actually goes into some detail here on why an evil empire might be supported by ordinary people. Why do people support an evil government? I will not go into modern day history about that at all. We've got organizations, so Galactic Survey Service, Interstellar Trade Commissions, Mercenary Regulatory Agencies, Sensor Division, Rebels, Marines, Navy, just lots of different things here. We've got the Space Rangers, the Postal Authority, Security and Intelligence Agencies, private organizations, just fleshing out very much what organizations could exist within your universe. Multi-stellar corporations, some examples there. As I said, very 70s. That moustache has got to be peak 1973, I think. Planning adventures, and again more organizations. Then we're starting to go into technology, so we've got different reaction drives, reactionless, contragravity, and the tech levels they appear in. Experimental FTL drives, star drives, and then it breaks them down into hyper drives, jump drives, warp drives. Now, as I said, it kind of glosses over things. One of the ideas, I think, which is more science fiction these days, and perhaps more useful for a role-playing campaign, is wormholes. But these are really only glossed over with stargates, and it mentions, if this is the only FTL travel known, then STL ship must travel to each new system to build a gate. Once it's there, a number of starships. Oh, perhaps your ship creates wormholes where it is. We're glossing over lots of possibilities here. I know a book can't cover everything, but many of the other science fiction books I've covered, GURPS Space example, really goes into far more. But then again, it is a newer book. So we've got warp drives. It goes through reliability and speed and the maximum range, what kind of fuel it uses, how you astrogate, different types of power plants, and then different communications technologies. Lots of suggestions there. Different types of sensors. Again, this looks very comic book, very 1970s to my eyes. I suppose this was just, what, 10 years after the 90s, so nah, the 70s were history by that point. Sorry, I've skipped over that section where character creation. So we've got different types. Do you want to be a merchant or navy, patrolman, pirate smugglers, assassins, bounty hunters, colonists, riffraff, rogues, scientists, rebels, missionaries? And then we're on to the advantages and disadvantages, which is the core to any GURPS supplement. But there's only just a few here. Really, it's relying on advantages and disadvantages from other source books, I think. We've got the skills that you would need in a space setting. You know, your ability to pilot, manipulate genetics, force shields, etc. We're on to economics and different social statuses and prices. Then we've got alien races, and it's got a few suggestions here for alien races. So we've got the Pachekki, who are a species who are quite alien. They've got more fingers than we should have, large bug eyes, but the most alien thing in their description is when they wake up each morning, they may be either gender. But I think that's lacking in imagination, because only 2 genders? Can't you create more than that? We've got the Treefolk, we've got the Gormelites. Again, these are very much just basic ideas. Gormelite females are tough and nasty as the males. Again, just binary gendered species. This is science fiction. You know, why can't a species have 26 genders? What else we got? We've got equipment and gadgets. Again, very briefly going over them. So we've got tools, spy equipment, sensors, communications, vacuum suits and life supports, computers, power cells, lots of pages of just lots and lots of text. And then we've got tables showing rough prices for all of that. Now we're on to weapons, going through different types of weapons you can get. Now, weapon improvement to higher tech levels. Blasters, Gauss needlers, flamers, force swords are energy weapons that consist of a powered hilt similar in size to that of a regular sword. When activated, a sword blade of annihilating enemy held in shape by a magnetic field extends from the hilt. Lightsabers. One of the nicest weapons I like, because we've got, what, neurolashes here, nerve pistols, paralysis guns. But I absolutely love the screamers. These weapons produce concentrated sound, a high-pitched rasping squeal. They don't operate in vacuum. A screamer literally tears the flesh from the victim's bones. If damage from the weapon exceeds more than double that listed for any limb, the limb is completely torn off. That's a brutal weapon. And let's be honest, as weapons get more advanced, they do tend to be more brutal. So I really like that. What else we got? Personal armor, going from Kevlar up to cyber suits, infantry armor, powered combat armor, combat infantry dress, medieval styled armor, force shields, wards, etc. And then we're on to medicine. So different types of cloning we've got suggested here. Suspended animation, regeneration, anti-aging, science fiction wonder drugs, available at different tech levels. We've got environments. We're going through what type of effects in your game planets with microgravity or high gravity might have. Different types of atmospheres, again suggesting what the effects might have. And then we're on to starships. So going through the design, what you can get for your different tech levels and your cost. Then you've got different types of power plants, whether they're powered by chemicals, capacitors, solar panels, fission plants, fusion plants, antimatter, pocket antimatter, total conversion drives, etc. We've got the different types of maneuver drives and star drives. Suggestions in the side columns how to get a ship without buying it. You might be given one by a government for missions, or you might just steal it. But life support, different weapons you can fit to your ships, sensors and communications. Sample construction system with suggestions here for building the ship, the total costs and everything that went into creating the Aguila class merchant, tech level 910. Then we're on to space combat. You're going through the different phases, you know, assigning firepower, point defense gunnery, computing attacks, computing ship damage, possible PC injury, player character survival. And then we're getting towards the end of the book and we're going on to star mapping, placing worlds around stars, unusual stellar objects, creating star systems, different types of worlds, so terrestrial worlds, Earth-likes, gas giants, going through rotation, axial tilt, density, different types of atmosphere, from methane to oxygen, nitrogen, to polluted, exotic or corrosive. You know, lots of suggestions here for making fairly interesting planets. Whether they've got mineral resources, different biospheres, and completing the system, so adding other worlds to it. Then we've got a section on planetary civilizations. What tech levels they might be when you're reaching a world and meeting a fairly primitive, or maybe they're more advanced in different ways, civilizations. Starports, installations, and then we're reaching right back and we've got the index, glossary, and the ship record for designing your ship, and a planetary record with hex maps so you can draw out the surface. So that was GURPS Space, and that one, as I said, with a resounding 48% of the vote. Way ahead of everything else. Now I do wonder if the fact that I put 3 different Rifts books in split the Rifts vote somewhat. But even including the fact that they got 19%, 9% and 10%, so a total of 38% between the 3 of them, still puts them a full 10% behind GURPS Space. So that was a definite winner. Now, as usual, I've wiped the poll clean, and we're going in with 5 new ones from the second bottom shelf over here, which is going to be interesting because the bottom shelf is completely Star Wars. So next week's going to be a completely Star Wars poll. But anyway, this week I've put in Lunar Rising, a book for the Aeon Trinity RPG, containing details of one of the Scion orders and the moon colonies in that game. We've got the Star Drive Arms and Equipment Guide for Alternity for their Star Drive setting. Various weapons, vehicles, etc. We've got Infantry Weapons of the World for Twilight 2000. A companion piece to the Heavy Weapons of the World, which we covered a couple of months back. But it expands it out into Merc 2000 and Dark Conspiracy, so there's laser weapons and things in this book as well, which is a bit odd for a Twilight 2000 sourcebook. There's Bug City for Shadowrun, a book which I have close personal connections to because I was travelling around the world at the time I got this book and I was reading the companion novel. So I have a very weird connection with this book as I was in a very weird place. And finally we've got the Reformation Coalition Equipment Guide for Traveller of the New Era. Again, another equipment book, but one for a science fiction game. Some really interesting stuff there during the New Era as technology has collapsed and is rebuilding. So we'll see how they work out. I know, personally, I really want Bug City to win because I would love to ramble on for a while about that. And the poll having started, it's looking like Bug City's going to win. It's leading at the moment, but we shall see how it goes. On other channel related stuff, I've not much really. I've got a few interesting things in the works. I've been contacted by a few people to do with role-playing companies, although they got in touch and haven't really got back to me, but we'll see how that works out. I think I've ended up on some kind of list, obviously reached a certain number of subscribers or whatever, and I've ended up on a list because just lots of emails started coming in about different things that people want me to have a look at. So that'll be really quite interesting on the channel. But apart from that, I've nothing much to say, so I think I've rambled on for quite long enough. So, as usual, thank you very, very much for watching. But also, as usual, you look after yourselves. And I'll catch you later. Bye now.